Daf Daled. Okay, we're still struggling with the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that when a shlich brings a get, he has to say before neinech tam. So the Gemara has a difficulty. According to Rabbi Lozer, when the terse is v'kosav lo sefer krisus. What does v'kosav mean? V'kosav means you must write the get. So therefore Rabbi Lozer says a get to be a get does not require witnesses, meaning witnesses signing on the get. There's no mention of chasimovs, signatures. So what gives it its viability? What gives it its value? It has to be infused with the intent. It's for this particular couple. What gives it its viability as a get, it has to be transferred, has to be given in the presence of witnesses. That's Edi Besira Karsi. What causes the termination of relationship? The get, this document infused with that intent, is given in the presence of witnesses. Rameir says Edi Chasima Karsi. What gives its viability? When the terse is Kosav means it's signed. We don't read it as Kosav meaning writing, it's written, it's signed. Therefore, the Gemara said, Rav Nachman said, Rameir, that if you find a get, even in a waste can, in a trash can, with identical information, it can be used for another person who has the same information. Why? Because it wasn't signed. And you can sign the get, and it's a 100% first-class get. It's not a problem. So we have a problem. The Mishnah says the shliach, he has to attest to the fact fonei nechtav, fonei nechtam. It was written in my presence lishma, and it was signed in my presence lishma. But according to Reb Lozer, chasim has no relevance to lishma, and according to Rameir, writing has no relevance to lishma. But yet both have to be addressed. Why do both have to be addressed? Fonei nechtam. According to Rav, it's not a question, because according to Rav, we said earlier, what is he saying nechtam? That's to certify the document that it's not a forgery, to substantiate it. So what does he have to speak with the ksiva? Because it could be confused with kim shtaros. Because normally when you substantiate a document, how many witnesses do you have to have? You have to have two witnesses. This is an exception because mishum aguna kilo b'rabbanan. Because otherwise the woman will remain a bound married woman for the rest of her life. So therefore there's a special leniency. But normally how many witnesses do you need for kiyum? You need two. So to differentiate between the two, therefore, not only does he speak about the signing, he even speaks about the writing. We're going to Rabbah that the only reason why he's attesting to nechtam is lishma. So then we have a difficulty. So what does he have to address both? Either it's ksiva or it's chasima. So what does he have to say fonei nechtav or fonei nechtam? That's where we're at this point. And it can't go like Rameir, as we said, rabbinically, because Rameir says that even rabbinically you could take the get out of the waste can and just sign it. And Rabbi Lozer, we said before, even if the get has no eidim, it's a valid get. So how do we understand the Mishnah? Who do we attribute the Mishnah to?
According to Rabbah.
According to Rabbah. According to Rabbah. Who do we attribute the Mishnah to? On that, the more answer is third line. El olam Rabbi Lozer. The Mishnah could be going according to Rabbi Lozer. 80 Mesira Karsi. V'chilo boy Rabbi Lozer chasimo. When does Rabbi Lozer need chasimo? Heichod lakedim klal. Lechatchila, meaning even on an optimal level, you give a get without any witnesses signed on the get. Why? Because when Torah says v'kosav means what? It means it's written. So therefore, as long as it's given in the presence of witnesses, good enough. What about factually you sign witnesses? Let's say according to Takonos Rebbe Gamliel, and they tikkun olam Rebbe Gamliel legislated every get should have witnesses. Why? Because if the woman eventually wants to marry, what happens if the witnesses who witnessed the transfer of the get, they passed away, they died, or they're overseas? How does the woman remarry now? Right? Well, I have a piece of paper. Piece of paper means that you could have written the document yourself. So we have to have witnesses that they witnessed the transfer of that document. That's how you receive the document, in the presence of witnesses. So the woman is stuck. So Gamliel legislated, enacted every get should have witnesses on it. That's tikkun olam. Okay? So now that you have witnesses, let's say those witnesses, let's say you would sign witnesses that are apostle. Let's say it was given the presence of witnesses, and the witnesses that signed were curve apostle. What's the halacha? Is that a valid get or not a valid get? It's not valid. Why? Because it's on the get. You have witnesses that are valid witnesses. So what about if you have witnesses on the get? Although on a Torah level you don't need lishma, but when they sign, they don't sign lishma. They just sign the document, not lishma. Since now it's part of the document, and it becomes an integral part of the document, for the document to function, to allow it to remarry, we treat those witnesses as integral to the document. Therefore, if you don't meet the criteria of lishma, the document's invalidated. I'm Tosis going to ask a question. It's called mezuif mitocho. If the document has an innate defect, then the document's invalidated. So Tosis asks a question. We'll see inside. Phenomenal question. He says, if according to Rabbi Kalatsky, if you sign witness, curve apostle, it's possible. The document, the get's possible. So therefore, here also the signatures have to be lishmos. Tosis says, what does one thing have to do with another? Why do you sign signatures, witnesses on the document? Because in case if the husband should later say, or she should say, I was divorced, we should know she was divorced. What if she presents a document with apostle witnesses that are apostle? What are they? It's not. They're not reliable, right? So that's the reason we invalidate the document, because the witnesses on the document we invalidated, because in fact we have to rely on them. They're not reliable. It's never good. But lishma, there's no basis that witnesses have to sign lishma, because when Torah says v'kosav, what does kosav mean? It means it should be written lishma. Torah never addresses signing lishma. So if the witnesses are viable witnesses, they're not related, they're not disqualified, so why should we invalidate the get? That's Tosas' question. How do you compare karva apostle and get according to Rabbi Lazar to a situation where the witnesses, when they signed, they didn't sign lishma? That's Tosas' question. Right, but the Gemara compares A to B over here. Seemingly there's no comparison between the two situations. Ernie, you learned this Tosas already? No. Okay. No, if they're curve apostle, definitely makes sense, right? Definitely, that's the reason. Why did you sign the witnesses? Why? In case. No, but once you've signed it, tikkun olam. It's in everybody's best interest. You should have witnesses on the document. So let's say the witnesses who witnessed the transfer were valid witnesses, and the witnesses who signed, they're not valid. Rabbi Losa says, I agree that the get is possible. Nobody argues the get is possible. That's called mezuif. There's an mezuif mitocho. There's an integral defect in this document. It's a defective document. Once the document is classified as defective, it can't be used. No, it's not deraisa. It's rabbinical.
I'm saying it is the defect.
It's deraisa defect in terms of to prove that she was divorced. Regarding the actual divorce, it's not a defective document. But since there's a chance you may need this document to prove that you were divorced, and that's defective, because the witnesses who signed are not qualified to sign, because they're karva apostle. So therefore, we invalidate the get. So that makes sense. But if the witnesses sign shlo lishma, on a rabbinic level, on a Torah level, there's no reason why they should sign lishma. Torah never addressed lishma regarding the signatures. So why is that considered an integral defect in the document? That's Tosas' question. And Tosas says the question is really better than the answer. He answers because since you have to write lishma, we're concerned you're going to confuse the signing with the writing. If you allow the sign to be shelo lishma, you may come to say even it could be written shelo lishma. So because of that confusion, therefore, if there's no witnesses whatsoever, it's not a problem. But since every aspect of the written document is lishma, therefore even the signing, which has no relevance to lishma, people say, you see, the document does not be totally lishma. So if it doesn't have to be totally lishma, so even the writing may not have to be lishma. So since we're concerned about this confusion, we invalidate the document. That's Tosas' answer. No, but that answer was only mentioned earlier according to Rava, right? Because we're confused that to substantiate the document, they'll just as by get one witness is sufficient, they'll substantiate ordinary documents, which is not the case. You need two witnesses. So to make people should see there's a difference, we discuss an aspect document which is not normally mentioned by ordinary documents, right? That's osilach lufe. You may confuse the two. No, the agent is saying the witnesses they signed lishma. No.
He has to attest that the husband.
No, that's part of the lishma. That's part of the lishma.
So what is
They were authorized by the husband to sign this document, and they signed it on behalf of the husband. They signed it on behalf of the husband. Okay?
They have to witness the scribe writing it out, the shmo.
The scribe doesn't write the signatures. The witnesses signed it.
No, I meant the Torah or the
Sure, of course they have to witness that. But befonai nechtav, what does nechtav mean? It was written in my presence. That's.
No, that's the
agent.
I'm told the agent. No,
The witnesses aren't testifying to the scribe's lishmo, are they?
No.
So,
The witnesses who signed
so
it.
Let's say the husband would say, they walk in afterwards and they say, sign this document that I
correct.
authorized to. They could sign on it.
Correct.
And they sign, so they're
They
signing.
have no history as to what the scribe was thinking when he wrote it. They have no
Well, we say
history.
if
They
it's
don't
scribe,
know
if
what's
it's
really
no
written.
wait, if it's scribe is trustworthy, and the husband says, I authorized this Sophie to write this get. I'm saying again, you're speaking about technicalities here. Factually, the witness when they sign, they know they're signing on a document that was written lishma. Otherwise, they have no right to sign on the document. I understand. They have no right. If a document is a chance it may be an illegal document, a witness has no right to sign on the document. So when they sign it means they know factually this document was written correctly. It was authorized by the husband. And now they put the signatures on it. Why? Because the husband authorizes them to sign his document. Therefore, that's called chasim lishma. It's been signed for the sake of this couple, and it was authorized by the husband that they should sign on his behalf.
So then
But if you remove that requirement that the witnesses know firsthand in their own minds that this document is written by a qualified scribe, if you remove that, why can they trust the husband? A man just comes to these witnesses and says, sign. I can tell you the document was probably written by a scribe, and I mean...
Well, if it's a question of the husband, let's say if the husband would know the halacha. See, if the husband doesn't know the halacha, then it's a problem. He says it was written correctly. How does he know? He's such an expert, he's so proficient. But let's say he's proficient. We spoke about biyodo. The husband could actually have a get written at this moment.
He could write it himself.
He could, but I'm saying, therefore, we had earlier, whatever it's biyodo, whatever he has the ability to reproduce something, then he's believed. He's believed, the husband's believed. So over here, that's what he's believed. He says, I, the scribe, wrote this document on my behalf, I would like you to sign it. They're permitted to sign it. Because if he wants at this moment, he can get another scribe to reproduce this document without a question. So therefore, he's believed. There's no reason not to believe him.
So why does do the Adam have to say find neftam if the Adam on the document have already they've already signed and that the intent of the person who wrote it? Because when they sign,
That's our question of Quadra Meir. Quadra Meir, you don't have to speak about. It was written. If it's written lishma, okay. Funny. See, we're concerned about the husband coming afterwards contesting the get. He's contested. Remember we said earlier, it's laws. The husband's going to come make trouble.
Right.
Factually, in reality, we're not worried. And the validity on Torah level, the get's a valid get. But we don't want there should be any murmurings regarding this particular get.
Right.
So how do you prevent that? So if he himself sees it written, the shliach, and he's so meticulous in every aspect of it, we'd say with assurance,
Right.
this was written 100%. Even if the husband comes and counters his testimony, we ignore the husband.
Even though the Adam that are signing are already signing that the person who wrote it had the right intent.
No, they're allowed to sign, but the witness has
But
to
they
be.
could only sign if they know for sure.
The husband, because the
person
husband
who wrote it had
because
the
the
right
husband
intent,
said,
right?
I had this document written on my behalf, and I would like you to sign it, right? And we're speaking about where the husband understands what a proper get is, right? So they have a right to sign it now. But what about the shliach? The shliach, it's not enough. The shliach has to see it written. Why? Because biyado is not enough. Because he can make trouble. He's only attesting to its validity because we don't want to make the husband make trouble. Right? The get is going to be a kosher get regardless.
And the shliach can't just talk about the person, people that
No.
He has to know about the person.
Correct.
Also.
Correct.
So you have two
Correct.
groups that say that who said it was done inappropriately.
See himself. So therefore we want the shliach to say, I firsthand saw it written, and I saw it signed.
But if the document has witnesses, that automatically tells you that it was the schmuck with the witnesses wouldn't be signed on it, because they.
But again, we're concerned about the murmurings. The murmurings. The husband can say anything he wants. We don't want the husband to have a basis to say anything. So if the shliach saw everything firsthand, and we say, Lord, he's not going to want to look bad, the shliach. So therefore he made sure initially everything was done 100% correctly. So his word versus the husband's word, we totally discount the husband. We ignore him. And there's no basis even for murmurings. Okay, let's go a little further. So we're saying, not fit, we're saying he is the Mishnah. Hechadik Eidim, boy, the Omer Rava Moder Rebbe Lozer, as Rabbi says, Rebbe Lozer concurs with Reb Meir, b'mezuyif mitoch shu posel, that if there's a defect in the document, although it's not required, but anything which is defective in the document, we disqualify the document. So again, as I said, what's the classical situation? Eidim that are psulim. The Eidim who signed were what? Were the Korov Posel. So he says, just as there, he agrees. So if it was written Shlo Lishma, although it's not required, we also disqualify the document.
It's very hard. No, it's just hard to squeeze him into the Mishnah. It's hard to squeeze him in the order of the Mishnah.
Why is it? We just answered. It's Mezuyif Metocho. Because the document has a defect. Once the document has a defect, although on a Torah level it's not relevant, doesn't make a difference. We disqualify the document. What is it? This Tikkun Olam. Do you have witnesses on the document? Every woman has the witnesses on the document. That's what was Rabbi Gamliel. That was Rabbi Gamliel's takona. You have to have witnesses. So this document, to be fully functional, it's not a fully functional document. Once it's not functional, we disqualify the document. We invalidate it. That's a doraisa. That's doraisa. Ravashi answers differently. So until now, we're aware there's a Rebbe Lozer, there's a Reb Meir. Then when Torah says v'kosav, what is either kosav means written or kosav means signed. Ravashi says there's a third opinion. Hamani Reb Yehuda did not Reb Yehuda posla achte ksiva v'chasimosa betolush. Hear this? Reb Yehuda says when it says v'kosav, kosav means from the beginning to the end. The whole document has to be written lishma. So it says v'kosav l'sefer krisus. We said that if a person writes the document when it's attached to a tree, then he severs it and gives it to the woman, it's not valid. Why? Because there can't be any delay from the writing to the giving. Correct? So we said, we quoted a Mishnah, according to Reb Meir, you write, the text is written when it's attached to the tree. You sever it, sign it, and give it to the woman, it's valid. Why? Because when Torah says v'kosav, kosav means v'chosam, means it should be signed. So there is no delay from the signing to the giving. Right? Reb Yehuda says no. If you write it or sign it, when it's attached, it's not valid. From the signing through the writing through the signing, it has to be available immediately to give to the woman. Okay? This is Reb Yehuda.
What is the definition of the delay? Because
Not a time delay. It has to be a physical delay. You're not able. You have to do an action before you do it. I mean, let's say you write a get, the woman lives 100 miles from here. That's not a delay. Time is not a delay because that's just a time factor. Because if she'd be here, she'd be able to receive it.
so
Here, from the writing to the giving, do I have to do another action in regard to the actual get itself? Okay? The Gemara says later, we're going to have a person writes a get on an Eved Kanani. It's his channel. He goes and tattoos a get on an Eved Kanani, and he gives the Eved Kanani to the wife. She's divorced because the document is tattooed onto his skin. I'm told there's a question later, but you're not an Eved Kanani is Chayv Mitzvah Isha, right? He's bound. How do you tattoo on him? Jew is not permitted. You want to run a tattoo parlor. Is that what they call it? I don't know. today, maybe boutique. Today it's something boutique.
Parlors.
Okay, so to tattoo a goy, it's not a problem. A non-Jew, you're permitted to tattoo, but a Jew, you're not permitted to tattoo. So if an Eved Kanani is Chai Mitzvah Kisha, he's bound by all the laws, and it's an Issa D'Oraisa, negative commandment. How do you tattoo the slave? He's an Eved Kanani. So Tosas answers, there are two steps to tattooing. Right, some things you should know. Okay, 2 steps. Okay, first you perforate the skin, and then you inject it with a dye. Right, tattooing, the Issa D'Oraisa is, the what is doing both. But if you do one without the other, see, here was he just perforated the skin. So if you read, you're able to actually, the letters are formed as a result of the perforations. But he didn't inject the dye. There's no Issa D'Oraisa. This is a famous question. That's what Tosas answers. What? It's right. Of course it's writing. Right? If you score something, you right? That's writing. You don't have to have ink. Okay? So Tosas asks, that's Tosas answers. So the Minchas Chinuch asks, what about Chatzi Shorosa Ben Torah? Right? Right? You did half the process. You did the perforation, you injected with the dye. But it's Chatzi Shir. Torah says that even if you don't fully do the full act, you do a partial act, what's the equivalent? You eat a Chatzi Zayus. Torah says, you're not, Halach Mishinai, what's eating? Eating is a K'zayus Shalem, a full K'zayus. What if you want a sliver of not kosher? It's Torah violation. Wait. Let me first tell you the Minchas Chinuch's question. You want to answer it? You can answer the question. Okay? So, yes, it wasn't a Chatzi Shir. He's doing half and a half of what? If it's half and half is a whole. So, like eating half a gzayas, a whole gzayas. Half the process should be an Issa D'Oraisa. That's the Minchas Chinuch's question. Right? So, we'll listen to Moshe's answer. So, what's the answer? See, that's what that. So the Minchas Chinuch asks, when you have, let's say, non-kosher, you have a piece of nevela. Half of the nevela, it's nevela, except it's not the full volume, right? But it's nevela. You need enough nevela. Here, when it says tattooing, perforation is not called tattooing. Tattooing is perforating and injecting with the dye. Therefore, it's not Chatzi Shir. That's what you're saying. That's the Minchas Chinuch's answer.
But tattooing on a cow, on an animal.
Fine. You could tattoo an animal. You could tattoo a goy. Why is an animal any different?
So a tattooed cow is a valid get.
Sure. If you give the woman the whole cow.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
something else. That if you give the whole cow with the horn, not because then you're doing a separate action. Because there's an interruption between the writing and the giving. You wrote it on the corn, and then you give the whole cow with the horn. She's mugaresha. She's divorced. Because it has to be something which does not dissolve. It has to be permanent.
You ascribe rights on the document.
It absorbs into the. It has to do with erasure. Here, naturally, because of the oil and the sweat, it'll totally dissolve. You wrote it on a surface that it will naturally dissolve. If you write it with disappearing ink, right? It's not valid to get.
No, but the get is supposed to be a document that can testify.
No, it doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. It's in the woman's best interest. She should be able to retain the document to prove she was divorced. But it does not testify. The document has to be given attesting to the fact that he's divorcing his wife. Nothing more than that. That's the rid of divorce. Nothing more than that.
So
it's in her best interest to retain it to prove that she was divorced.
So if the woman writes it to something that's going to die, she's going to outlive. That's not a problem. It's not considered a problem, but she won't have any evidence.
So what she'll have to do, it's like what they do today. When a woman gets a get today, they don't give the get to the woman. She receives it. The rabbi takes it back. Then he gives her a certificate saying, and it's signed by the witnesses, this woman was divorced in the presence of this bezdin, and the witnesses signed, and she doesn't have the get. So what she's going to have to take the cow, take this animal, get 2 witnesses to write a document. We attest that we saw the document. It was a valid get. It was certified by what? and therefore, and she has that document. That will prove that initially she received a get.
Why can't she get the get today? Why doesn't she keep the get today?
They don't allow the woman to keep the get.
Keep it in the archive.
They keep it. Not only that, there's a whole thing. They actually cut the get, that it cannot be used by anybody else.
Right.
They cut it in a certain way that it's clear the get was used. Of course, we're concerned if let's say if another person with identical information, we could have problems with this. So therefore, the rabbi keeps the get and doesn't let the person have the get.
What's wrong if she has the get? I'm trying to understand why.
At one time, they allowed her to keep the get. It was not. I'm telling you, because
Proof that she.
so they give her a document, which is the equivalent of that. They give her a certificate from the Beis Din saying that she was divorced. Right.
Rabbi, what about the case where the get was written in a shmul, and the shliach, on his way to delivering it, dies?
So she was never divorced. What happens? The husband writes a get lishma, and the way to he dies. He has a heart attack because before he gets there. So, okay, she's not divorced. How is she divorced? She never received it.
She's a widow.
Yeah, but it makes a difference. Let's say she was. Let's say Yibum. Let's say he didn't have any children. Receiving the get, not receiving the get, determines whether she falls to Yibum or not. Right. So she falls to Yibum. She never received the get. Okay. Did not review them at post betolush. The writing and the signing has to be after it was detached. Somebody asked a question. Initially, we only considered the Mishnah is either going like Rabbi Lozer or Rabbi Meir. And we said, if that's the case, it's a problem. I mean, if there is such an opinion as Rabbi Yehuda, as we're citing the Mishnah, so why don't we attribute it immediately? What are we getting all complicated? It's like, it's a last-ditch effort. We have no choice, it's Rabbi Yehuda. Initially, we should have said it was Rabbi Yehuda. Right? Umeikora. Right? Umeikor, my time of the Mukminu like Rabbi Yehuda. Initially, why do we establish the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda? Some more answers, very interesting. Madrina and Rav Meir, the Stamas Nisa Rav Meir. The reason is, we say in Shas, the anonymous Mishnah is usually attributed to Rav Meir. So we prefer to work it out, that the Mishnah is consistent with Rav Meir. If we have no choice, we'll attribute it to someone else. So therefore, the Gemara start off, who's the Mishnah going? Rav Meir says, if we have a problem, Rav Meir only says that the signing has to be Lishma, not the writing. So why do we go afterwards to Rabbi Lozer? Madrina Rabbi Lozer, the Kamla Hilchos Kavosi Begitten. The reason is because we rule Edi Masira Karsi. Since that is we don't rule like Rameh, we rule like Rabbi Lozer, so we prefer to establish the Mishnah is going according to the halacha. But after we see the Mishnah is not able to reconcile Rameh or Rabbi Lozer, we have no choice. As we say, we attribute the Mishnah to Rabbi Yehuda. So Tosas goes out of his way to show, if you read the Gemara literally, why do we want to establish Mishnah like Rabbi Lozer? Because Hilsa Kavosi Begitten. Because we rule like Reb Lozer regarding divorce documents. What about monetary documents? If you have a monetary document, a loan document, a deed, and it's given over in the presence of witnesses, and there's no witnesses in the document itself, what's the law? Is it valid or not? Reb Meir says it's not valid. Unless you have witnesses signed on the document is not a viable document. When he says Edi Chasima Karsi, it's not specific Karsi. It's regarding any document has to have witness on the document to give it any viability. Rabbi Lozer says no. Writing a document gives it its viability that it's transferred in the presence of witnesses. That gives it its viability. But if you read it, now how do we rule? Maybe we only rule like Rabbi Lozer, only by Gitten, Edi Masir. Maybe by ordinary documents we rule Edi Chasima, that the witnesses who sign, they give it its viability. So Tosas proves from other places of Shas, it's very important Tosas here, that although the Gemara says Hilchos Kavosi Begitten, it doesn't mean limited to Gitten. We rule unilaterally according to Reb Lozer, Edi Masira, not Karsi, Edi Masira give validity to the document. So every document to be valid on a Torah level has to be transferred in the presence of witnesses.
Nothing needs a signature.
Nothing. Signature is only in the interest of the purchaser to prove that there were Edi Masira, that it was given in the presence of witnesses.
What does the Gemara say?
That would be true for a ketubah.
Everything.
A loan document.
A deed.
Everything.
A deed. Right? Because
It says Hilchos Rabbi Lozer is only in this discussion.
we're speaking this discussion. But he says begitten. Begitten seems to be only it's limited to gitten. So Tosas says lavdafka. It's not specific there. Right. No, we're not talking about anything else. This is Rabbi Lozer and Rabbi Meir.
Rabbi, is the implication that if the
We normally Stam Mishnah or Reb Meir.
I understand, but there's usually a purpose. If it's not a Stam Mishnah, Rabbi